You were optimistic about civilizational transformation when Obama was elected in 2008. Now that he has been re-elected in 2012, what do you have to say?
President Obama of the United States of America seems to be a unique phenomenon. We can take a look at what he said.
Few challenges facing America and the world are more urgent than combating climate change. The science is beyond dispute and the facts are clear. Sea levels are rising. Coastlines are shrinking. We've seen record drought, spreading famine, and storms that are growing stronger with each passing hurricane season. My presidency will mark a new chapter in America's leadership on climate change that will strengthen our security and create millions of new jobs in the process. But I promise you this, when I am president, any governor who's willing to promote clean energy will have a partner in the White House. Any company that's willing to invest in clean energy will have an ally in Washington. And any nation that's willing to join the cause of combating climate change will have an ally in the United States of America.
What we have seen over the last 4 years is not an American nation that has taken leadership and started to lead the world towards a sustainable civilization which is an effective response to the climate change which the human species has brought upon itself. Instead, what we have seen is a reluctance to take any kind of action in that direction, and as a result all we have seen is an increase in climate volatility, more storms, more floods, more heat waves, more and more people being swept away, and this is going to increase rather than decrease if this attitude of apathy is allowed to prevail. And to all purposes, it seems as though this is all we are going to see in the future as well, unless we collectively collaborate and do something about it. There is no doubt that Mr. Obama, who has been elected for another term as the President of the United States of America, is not a liar. I am convinced that the man speaks the truth. It is clear that he would like to do what he has said that he is going to do. Obviously, something prevented him from moving in that direction. And what that something is, we may not know. We may find it easy to point our fingers at big oil. We may find it easy to point our fingers at big money. But that may not be where the problem lies. What I am trying to point out is that there are very, very few human individuals who seem to be able to see what is happening. It is not a matter of ignorance. The data is up there on the internet. People are speaking about it all the time. But I think it is not even a matter of understanding. Most intelligent people understand what is being said. But for some reason or other, they are unable to perceive what is being described, so that all that they are being told becomes a story, sometimes an exciting one, sometimes a frightening one, sometimes an interesting one, but nevertheless just the story that is to be listened to, perhaps enjoyed, and then forgotten when you go to work the next day. Now, why is this? Why is it that only a very few human individuals can perceive the very serious situation that the human species has brought itself to right now? And when I say it is a serious situation, I am sure you will find, if you visit New York, that there are people who have experienced the full force of Hurricane Sandy and who still will be unable to understand that this is not an isolated incident, but a part of a process that is rapidly accelerating. So we have this very serious problem where just a few of us, a very few of us, are able to perceive what is happening. The other problem is, what is it that prevents the majority of the individuals who make up this human species from perceiving this. It is in effect some kind of a blindness. We are not talking about stubborn people. We are not talking about fools. We are not talking about people who do not have brains. We are talking about functional human individuals who for some reason are unable to perceive the grave situation that the human species is in. Now, what is it that prevents them? Is this a sickness? Is this some kind of pathology? Is this some kind of an illusion or a hallucination or a delusion? The matter must be investigated, and the matter must be investigated very, very fast. Because unless these people are able to perceive the situation that they are in, there is nothing that they are going to be able to do to respond. And there is much that has to be done in order to respond. The first thing that has to be done, for instance, is to take stock of the situation. And when I say take stock of the situation, it is something that everybody does every day, all the time, in respect to every aspect of their lives. I am not asking people to become rocket scientists. I am simply saying that what you do as part of your day-to-day life, you have to now apply to the global situation and the situation of the human species. And what you have to apply is calculation. When you get into your car in the morning, you switch on the ignition and you look at your petrol tank. Why? To see whether you have got the resources to get you to your destination. Now that is the first thing that I am asking you to do. Look at the resources that you have and make a calculation as to how long those resources are going to last. These resources are what keep our global civilization going every day for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, this cannot go on forever unless you have an unlimited supply of these resources. So what I am asking you to calculate is how much of resources you have, how long those resources are going to last, and therefore for how long the current global civilization of the human species can survive. Now, if you have an answer to that question, you have a time frame. You know that these resources are going to last for so long if we continue to live in this way. But at the same time, you also know that you have got to shift to something different if you are going to continue. I assume that there are a sufficient number of intelligent people who are able to perceive possibilities that can ensure the survival of the human species. If that is indeed the case, if there really is a sufficient number of people who can see paths by which the human species can continue to survive for longer than they would if they simply continued along the path that they are going, then those human individuals will have to sit down and make another calculation. And that calculation is, what are the resources that are going to be required to shift from this current unsustainable civilization that we have generated to another one which is going to be more sustainable than the one we live in. That is going to come at a cost. That is going to take resources. And you can calculate roughly how many resources, how much resources, how much of what and what you are going to require in order to make that shift. Now, all you have to do is to subtract the amount that you require to make this shift from the total amount that you have at the moment. Take the balance, calculate how long that will last, and you know how much of time you have got within which to make this change. Now this is a little bit of work, but it is not as though it is something that cannot be done. There are many scientists, and there are many universities, and there are many research organizations all over the planet, and you do not need all of them. You need just a few of them, perhaps 4 or 5, perhaps 1 or 2. If you take a careful look at the major research that has been done over the last 10 years, they have been done in 1 or 2 places. So 1 or 2 of these places where research is done would be quite enough to make this calculation. And having then made the calculation, what would we do? Because we have a situation where very few people are able to perceive what is happening and perceive possible responses to what is happening. So what you will have to do in that kind of a situation is to bring all these people together, not in a huge, gigantic, hierarchical pyramid like the United Nations with its massive bureaucracy and its inability to move. You will have to link them up in a way that gives them flexibility so that they can move fast. And that linking up of all these people is in effect going to generate a network that covers the whole of the face of this planet. And this network of human brains, you must have heard that 2 brains are better than 1, and here we are talking about many brains. This network of human brains, of human minds, will generate in effect a perceptual mechanism for the whole human species. And together they will be able to see things which you and me can never see on our own. And it is hoped that these things that they see will include many paths to the future, many paths to many different ways to live, many paths to many different lives and livelihoods for each one of us, and many paths by which we can all collaborate to generate a new world for us all.